What is good, y'all? It is your boy, Jonathan Dumont, and this is Highly Visible and a Little Misunderstood, the show where we talk to the people we see every day because we don't know what we miss until we miss them. Yes, your boy, if you are watching, is in a different space, try to make it a little bit more aesthetic. We got some stuff going on in the living room, but it's all right. By stuff, I mean, we are leaving on vacation really soon, and yeah, our house is a mess. Anyways, we are continuing our exploration of joy this season. And if you missed the last episode with Brandon Howard, that episode is entitled "What If Joy Has Nothing to Do with a Scale?" You're missing out, y'all. It was really good. Brandon is incredible at what he does. So do yourself a favor and cue it up next. And it's really all about finding joy in the body without chasing those numbers. And it pairs perfectly well with what we're going to be talking about and what you're going to hear today. So today we're diving straight into a question that's been living rent-free in my mind. Do you have to earn joy, or am I just allowed to feel it? Right? And I think a lot of us have to navigate and unpack that. And to help me is my friend, cousin of the pod, coach, facilitator, and newly claimed writer. Ashmi Patel is back with us again. Y'all remember her from last season, or a couple seasons ago. Whenever we did the business one or something like that, that's where she was at. And we're getting honest about perfectionism, the perceived quote unquote cost of joy, or AKA guilt. And then why so many of us feel bad the moment life finally starts to feel good. And if you've ever caught yourself wondering or saying, who am I to be happy right now? Pull up a chair. This one is especially for you. Recovering perfectionist, you have my heart. But real quick, if you're on YouTube, hit that like button, subscribe, and drop a comment if any of this resonates with you. And if you're listening on audio, a quick rating or review really helps folks find these conversations. And it means that more collective joy can be had, y'all. I think that is it. I have to get back to packing. So let's get into it. Joy, guilt, creativity, and the freedom to feel good. Right here with my friend, Ashmi Patel. Okay, so Ashmi, friend of the pod, cousin of the pod, you've been here before. Thank you so much for coming back and returning to talk with me about joy. So appreciate you.
Yeah, I'm excited to be here. It's an honor to be called the cousin of the pod. I love this title.
Honor. I'm going to start dishing it out to people who, obviously
Great.
Returning guests, but people that are my peoples. So yeah, you're cousin of the pod. Welcome to the fold.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, as you know, we talked offline a few times, everything about this season. And this season is all about joy. We're talking about the different aspects of joy, where we feel it, how we feel it, kind of the distances where it may not appear. And we had a great conversation around your coaching practice and your beliefs around joy. But before we dive into any of that, I would love to just give you open floor for folks who don't know you. Who is Ashmi?
Yeah. It's so funny. I feel like this is a question that you think you would answer the same all the time, but I answer it differently almost every time somebody asks me.
I love that.
But hi, everyone. Nice to see you again or be in your headphones again.
Yes.
I'm Ashmi Patel. I'm a life coach, I'm a facilitator, and I'm a writer. And
Ooh, new title. Hold on. We
yes,
don't talk about that.
I'll tell you, I'm reclaiming writer. This is actually, since I'm a cousin of the pod, this is the first time I actually said it out loud as a part of my who am I thing. So
Hold on. Come on now.
My heart rate went up when I said it.
Okay. All right. Let's put a pin in that because we're going to return to that because I have a lot to say on that because I might be adding a writer to my stuff too.
Okay.
That's why I was I'm intrigued. My antennas went up. Sorry, keep going. Sorry. You got two ADHDers on the call, so sorry,
yes,
everyone.
I literally have my fidget toy in my hand right
now.
Yeah. And yeah, so I support people who are ready to release perfectionism, shame, guilt, people pleasing, all of that, so that they can live a life that's more tied into their intuition and their values. And
Mm.
I'm a daughter of immigrants and a late diagnosed ADHDer. So a lot of the clients I support have that overlap. But yeah, and then in a nutshell, I describe myself as someone who's wildly curious, easily excitable, deep feeler, and a constant daydreamer.
I love that. I love that. Okay, that's Ashmi, y'all. All right, so let's circle back to writer.
Yes.
So tell me more about that.
Yeah, so I've always been a writer in the academic sense, right? Like I got my undergrad and master's degree in religious studies, so that's like a very writing intensive
Yes.
degree. Um, but because I was undiagnosed ADHD, like school was, I got good grades, but because I worked so freaking hard, but like school was really hard. And
Yes.
I
Yeah.
feel like I never, and I'm putting this in quotes, like properly learned how to write for academics.
Yeah.
And it
No.
brought
Yes.
me
Yeah.
so much anxiety, and I like inherited a lot of limiting beliefs around writing. And so once I started the business, I I kept returning to writing. Like people were like, "Oh, video is in. Like everybody wants video. Like, that's how they can experience you, all that stuff." And so I tried to make
Mm.
myself do that, and I just kept returning to writing.
Yeah.
And I just realized I'm the version of myself I want to be when I'm writing. I have a lot of dreams around writing. I feel like it helps me process. It's the best medium for processing, sharing, expressing.
Yeah.
Um, so I recently launched my Substack, and
Hold on. Hold
I
on.
feel like I'm so energized and excited after a really long time, because I also feel like Substack is where my people are at. Like earlier, we were
Yeah.
talking about how we can make anything into like a philosophical conversation,
Oh yeah. Offline. Yeah. We
and
philosophical, esoteric. Yeah. Yeah.
like that's what Substack is for, right? And so it's
Yeah.
felt really nice to reclaim writer in a sense of like, oh, I am a writer. Just I don't want to write academically anymore. Like it's the whole reason
Yeah.
I didn't stay in academia.
Hmm.
And I just want to write for other people who feel and think similarly to me.
Yeah.
And yeah, so that's why today, for my pod family, I
Yeah.
reclaimed calling myself a writer.
Come on now. Come on now. That's great. See, so that is so interesting. Very similar story for me around like got good grades, gifted and talent education, like all that stuff. But for some odd reason, like talking was very easy for me to like get those ideas and process and history poli sci, like that's what we did for 4 years. And we just communicate and talk, but it was also a very writing intensive program too. So, my grades when it wasn't a multi choice answer or short question stuff, like yeah, it would just suck. It wasn't great. Um, and it didn't matter how long the paper was. So like I would always procrastinate on it. And I'm glad that you put language to that because I didn't realize that I was anxious about
Yeah.
like writing. Like I wouldn't have called it that. I was like, this just sucks. Like this is so hard. Um, but I didn't realize that it was not typical behavior to basically go to a corner in the library and just like enclose yourself and just
Mm,
stay there for, for me, honestly, it was like 8 hours. And it didn't matter how long the paper was. It could have been a 1 page paper or it could have been a like 5, 7, 10. Like the average for us was like somewhere between 7 and 10. But like I didn't realize that it wasn't typical behavior that like no other people could just like go to a cop and they'll just be like it's stuff will come out, it'll be a little tough, but whatever. But it was very difficult to like get all of these thoughts onto paper and then worry about where a comma goes, worry about where the periods go, worry about like all the grammar. Does this sentence make sense? Is a run on? Is it not a run on? What the is a run on anyway? So it's just like all these all these different things that like juggling with writing. And so I was very resistant to writing too, but very similar to you. I feel the most comfortable when I spend time putting my thoughts together in a way that feels like me, in a way that feels like, mm, scratch that. When I reread something and it like, I reread something that I've written
Mm-hmm.
and it just like aligns
Yes.
so well with like what I'm feeling or what I was thinking. Like it, I'm just like, damn, like that is exactly what I was trying to say. And something about that moment feels good. I don't know if that
No, I
resonates with you.
know like exactly what you're almost like, oh, did I write that? Because that hit.
Yes, I'm shocked every single time.
Yeah,
Every single time.
constantly. I'm like, oh, wow, that came out of me. And then it's like, no, yeah, right. That is exactly how I feel all the time.
Hmm.
So it's great that it came out of me. It's almost like I inhabit a different person when I'm writing. And then when I go to re experience it, I'm like reminded that that's the same person.
Yes, like it's, you become almost disassociated from the work once it's out. Like you're done and then you move on. Like it's like, okay, whatever. And then I've gone back and read some posts and I've literally been encouraged, like almost brought myself to tears of just like, wow, I can't believe this person wrote that. Like that's
Yeah.
incredible. Like that speaks to me. But that person is me. It's just like I'm like, damn, Jonathan, from like 6 months ago, you were in your bag, my guy. You're in your bag. I needed to hear this right
Yeah.
now.
That's such an accurate
Yeah.
description. Yeah. So okay, well then I guess you're gonna be reclaiming writer status soon too.
I will. Yeah, I've started. I actually took myself on a writing date on Sunday. It
Awesome.
was it was nice. Like I woke up early and I actually was so excited. I started writing something in my phone
Mm-hmm.
because I'm working on like this open essay. So I started writing it and I wrote for like an hour and a half in bed, just like typing
Yeah.
everything, organizing. Yeah. And then I got up and then I went to the coffee shop and then I only wrote like a paragraph. But that's okay. That's all right. That's all
Yeah.
right. I talked to my friend who is an academic who has written, I think, 4 books at this point, Isaiah
Well.
Young. And um and he's like, yeah, it's actually kind of like that. Just like there's some days where I can write 7 pages, and then there's days where I'm just editing the whole time because nothing's coming. He's like, it's really just your process to think deeply. He describes it, honestly, this is what he describes it as. He describes writing as an embodied practice, like an embodied practice of like what is innately in you that is slowly flowing and forming outside of you. And so even when we're talking about, ooh, there's something there. Oh, come on now. So even when we're talking about like we kind of almost disassociate. I don't know if that's a appropriate word for that, but it's almost like we have embodied these words so much and have given so much intentionality to them that when they make their way out of us, it's like we're giving something to the world in those moments. And
Mm,
so, yes, they're capturing that in a moment of time, but also like these words are like truly us, like they're a part of us. And so, like, maybe that's where I find joy. And I don't know if this resonates with you or anybody else that's listening or watching, but like to be able to write without constraint is actually like I think true intentional and purposeful freedom and a gift to the world.
yes.
And I think that that's what gives me a good alignment when I am able to do that fully and like I'm embodying those words. So yeah,
Yeah, I wholeheartedly
shout out
agree,
Isaiah.
especially with this embodiment part,
Yeah,
because I have noticed as of late, if it if I'm not writing it down, whether it gets released or not, well, one, the act of writing it is an active release for me.
yeah,
Sharing it is like the secondary release to like be seen. But
yeah.
if it's not going to get written down, it's probably going to get suppressed for me.
Mm. Tell me
So,
more.
so like the act of writing allows me to like honor what I'm feeling in a way that if I'm not going to write it down, then I might share it verbally because I am a
Uh-huh.
verbal processor, but it's
Yeah.
just not going to be processed or embodied in the way where I feel like I can disengage from it,
Mm.
if that makes sense.
So just for clarity, if just for I can understand it. So if you do not write it out, you don't feel that you are processing it in the way that like fully. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, like I feel like my best way of letting something go is to write it down.
Ah, okay. Yes.
And if it doesn't
Yes,
get
I
written
agree.
down, then I probably won't release it and it'll just stay
Uh,
with me until I eventually write it down.
yeah. So there was a so what you just said reminds me, and I also agree with that. What you shared with me reminds me the creative, not the creative. Yes. The what you shared reminds me of like the creative act, A Way of Being by Rick Rubin. And
Oh, yes,
so,
I love that.
yes, that I devoured that book. That book was so good. I'm like, I don't buy books often because I'm like, we have literally over 100 books in our house and we don't have a lot of room.
Yeah.
But so I obviously shout out libraries, go to library,
Yes.
Libby, all the things, unsponsored pod, but hopefully we could change that. Libby, call me. But
Oh my God, that would be the best sponsor.
yeah, but yeah, but the Libby like is my go-to thing because now I didn't really like audiobooks, but like they have audiobooks on there, shout out
Mhm.
them. So I listed that book and it was literally really game changing in my creative process and letting things go. And so he talks about that actually. And it sounds like you read the book. You read the book?
Yeah, I
Okay,
haven't
amazing.
because you don't buy books. I can't not buy books. So,
Okay, well, I got in trouble. That's why. So I got in trouble. So you know, accountability. So the
yeah.
so the so yeah, so he talks about that in his book, and I can't remember the exact passage, but essentially what he says, and y'all should read the book, is around like if we hold on to something, it actually, yeah, we're we are suppressing that like creative thing that's trying to make its way out, right? And when we give to that or we tend to that, I'll say, and honor that feeling of like release to let go of it, like we are releasing something into the world that needs to be. And it's like he walks through this process of creating, and I'm not explaining this to you now, Ashmi. I'm explaining this to everybody else. But like, he walks through this way of creating that I think intuitively I knew, but to like have somebody talk about it and communicate it in the way that Rick Rubin does, um, was very very helpful, and also I think really speaks to like anybody that loves to create. And
Mhm.
like I have always believed that like being creative is a very broad
Yes.
spectrum of what that looks like. And so I don't think it's just painting, music, writing. It's so many different things. So yeah. And I coupled that with Ross Gay's book, the book of More Delights is the one I read. And then
Oh
Inciting
yeah.
Joy, both of those.
Yes.
Great books. Both of those I'm gonna buy too. Those are good books.
Agreed. Those are also all good to have because they're like short passages almost. So
Mm-hmm.
they're also great to just like pick up and like read a page when you just want to read a page.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways, all right. It's good stuff.
Yeah.
See, this is what happens. This is what happens when you bring dope people on the pod and then you just go and we talk about writing and the deep meaning and embracing of self that is encompassed with that creative act. It's like incredible. Look at
Yeah, I'm gonna honestly. I feel like I'm gonna need to re-listen to this just to figure out what I want to write about for like five more passages, like five more posts.
that. Yes, absolutely. Same. And what was interesting that you say this, and I think maybe I will this into existence, speak it into universe, so on and so forth. But I was like hoping, I was like, you know what? I feel like me and Ashmi is gonna have a great conversation. I have to write today
Mm,
because I'm recording the video essay on Thursday and I am nowhere near done. So I'm like, I feel inspired. I
yes,
feel yes, I'm gonna probably go to a coffee shop after this.
awesome.
Um, yeah. So that was all fantastic.
Mm,
What we talked about offline for the pod was not any of that. But I know that was good. I know folks are going to resonate with that because like that really spoke to me. And if it didn't speak to anybody else, then that's okay because It's just me and you here recording. But in our prep conversation, like it was really like something powerful around like we're speaking about joy and also like the folks that you coach and this idea around joy. So I think if I'm remembering right, you said something powerful about how joy often shows up with like guilt
Mm.
for some of the clients, maybe even for yourself, just being a child of immigrants and everything like that. So, can you like first share more about that so folks can kind of like see behind the curtain of what we talked about there, and then kind of when did you notice that pattern within yourself or maybe within the folks that you coached?
Yeah. Okay, yeah. So for just like background, I think for me, a lot of people I talk to, and definitely most, if not all, my clients, the concept of joy is almost always paired with a feeling of guilt. And it's this idea that, like, if I am feeling joy, then that means, like, it's just like an immediate reminder that the joy that I'm feeling, there are so many people in my life that are not feeling that joy.
Mm,
Or there are people in my life who have sacrificed a lot of things in order for me to feel the joy.
mm,
And so it's hard for me, it's hard for my clients, it's hard for a lot of my friends to just like lean in 100% into the joy without being like, oh, like me having this house or this life or traveling internationally. All of that is great and it is what brings me joy. But at the
mm,
same time, like my parents never got to do this, or I still have family members that are like, you know, struggling to even feel joy on a day-to-day basis. And so that guilt is almost immediate. And I have a lot of clients who are just like, I feel like I can't be happy knowing that like my parents or my sibling or whatever is struggling right now.
mm.
And the fact that it keeps showing up in just like the worldview that I'm in, it makes me think about it a lot, as well as from lots of perspectives. Is like, one, the people that you're feeling guilty about probably don't want you to feel that way,
Yeah.
and and like we talk a lot about the separation of guilt and joy, and that like you feeling joy doesn't mean that you also don't care about those people,
Mm, mm, mm-hmm.
and that they can be separated, and that doesn't mean anything about you or how much you love people.
Yeah. It's almost as if we are very complex human beings and that like to hold different emotions is like very possible. Would you agree or
Well,
disagree,
I
Ashmi?
mean, who would have thought that like we're not robots?
Yeah. Like you have to feel joy or you have to feel guilt and like to feel both of them is like weird. Well, I would say to feel both is like actually feeling human and it shows that you actually deeply care about the people that you're around.
Yes.
But I think one of the things that you, or excuse me, not just around, but the folks that have poured into your life, which I think is just like one, a beautiful thing. But also, you said something that was just like so spot on. The folks that truly love you and care about you and sacrifice for you do like they did that so that you could feel
Mhm.
joy and like experience things that they didn't have the opportunity to. And I'm sure that they would do it over again. You know what I mean? Um, and what is interesting is like you came at it from the perspective of child of immigrants and that being kind of like that point of view, which I'm not saying is all encompassing, but that's what you shared. But I even resonate deeply with that of just like growing up with my mom who had me at 15, who like literally really didn't really have a childhood after
Yeah.
that because she was a parent um, from 15 on, and like having to work jobs she really didn't want to, and doing all this, doing all kinds of stuff for me and my brothers, uh, just so that we could, eat, that we could take prom photos, that like I could go play basketball, that I could go to the park, that I could live in like all these kinds of things. Um, and here I am, 34 years old, looking for a job, there's a job that was like in my plate, and I'm just like, no, I don't want to do
Mm. Yes.
that. You know what I mean? It's like, and then there's just I feel like there's these competing things that are going on of like, one, you grew up poor, you could get a job, you need money, but also like my mom sacrificed a lot so that I could have choice and autonomy and decision and self realization and actualization and all that stuff. So it's so interesting that both of those feelings feel like they're happening at the same time, and it's a very hard place to be. How have you what has that space been like, maybe for you or for your clients, that's just like trying to navigate that,
Yeah.
an inner space of joy?
Well, space is a great word to describe it because space is a lot of what we do. Like giving it space to be what it is, right? Like you said, they
Mm,
can coexist because we're humans and feelings and emotions coexist all the time.
yeah.
Um, but also just like I think a lot of times we feel things for a long time because we don't give it space
Mm,
and we don't
mm-hmm,
reflect on it or observe it in order to change our mind about it.
mm,
And so, like, if you have felt something for a long time and then you never look back on it as a different person, then you're just going to keep holding on to that feeling.
mm,
And so, I think for me and a lot of my clients, like giving it space and observing it, one, I would say is like already a way to lighten it considerably because it's almost like turning the light on when you think there's a monster under your bed. You're like,
mm.
and you like take a peek and you're like, oh, there's nothing there.
Yeah.
Um, or there is something there, and then we can work through it. We can acknowledge it. Um, I think a big thing that comes up is the concept of do I deserve joy? I would
Mm,
theme is a very common theme, right?
yeah.
I think a lot of us don't always feel deserving of the joy.
Mm-hmm,
Um, so then, we work through that of just like, what does it even mean to deserve something? And there's generally a lot of choice and hard work that's going like uncelebrated, right? Like there's
mm-hmm.
generally people are feeling joy because they've worked hard for it or they've made sacrifices or just like really hard choices in order to prioritize their joy.
Mm,
But we're not really taught to celebrate that.
mm-hmm.
And so a lot of times it just goes kind of unchecked. And I do think like it's so cliche, like the gratitude exercise of like three things a day that you're grateful for or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
But like sometimes I'm like things are cliche because they're good and they work.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I feel like almost every client like they've either just need a reminder to do it or they just need to start doing it for the first time, even for me, because
Mm-hmm.
it's the intentionality behind that and that really does help you see just a lot of things in your life that you're grateful for that you just don't notice all the time. And I think that
Mm,
feeds into this like joy bucket considerably because you start to notice lots of things, like you just little things like you're on a walk for the day or your partner brought you coffee or just whatever, right?
yeah.
And
Yeah.
all of that is, I think, for a lot of us, what our idea of joy is.
Mm,
Um, so yeah, so that's my long answer to your question.
yes. This is a podcast, man. Come on now. So I think what I'm curious about too. You had mentioned that this idea around folks not feeling like they deserve joy, which is I think is would I go as far to say an epidemic? Maybe. Maybe I
Mm,
would. That folks feel like they have to earn joy. Similarly, like they feel like they have to earn rest, right? And that guilt, and I don't know if this is true, but I'll speak this for me with hopefully not projecting. I feel that like specifically for my mom, oop, something's there. I'm getting emotional. The specifically for my mom has earned joy. Like my
Mm,
mom has earned rest. Like all of the things that I'm experiencing right now, they should be my mom's, not mine, right? Like not necessarily dues. And I think we talked about this before, like that cost of joy. Like there needs to be some kind of cost
yes.
in order for me to experience this and fully be able allowing myself and fully embracing joy or what I believe to be joy. Um, and I think to your point, we don't feel like we deserve it and we kind of ignore the spaces where we kind of feel it but suppress it, right? Because we look at the people that have given so much in our lives and say, I want them to experience this. And so I will not feel it because I don't deserve it. I haven't paid the cost of joy yet. But I'll speak for myself again because I feel like I'm speaking to somebody, but I'm not. But I'm gonna just speak for myself right now. Is that like I have never clearly defined what that cost or what at which point I will be able to feel like I deserve this joy, and
Hmm.
thereby me never really truly accessing or feeling joyful in any of the things that I do.
Yes. All I can say to all of that is yes.
Yes.
Because it's this concept, okay, it's this concept that I can't feel joy unless I suffer for it or I work really hard for it. And it's like
Mm-hmm.
painful, right?
Mm.
And I think I
Damn.
think
Yeah.
that's why I talk about with for myself, my clients, just anyone I talk to, I think, is like the power of choices that you make. So, and I think I use this language because it's hard to take somebody who truly believes in this, like I have to deserve joy,
Mm-hmm.
and then to immediately be like, no, scratch that. It's not about that. Like joy is for everybody. We should just feel it. Like,
Yeah.
right? Like this is like generations of layers and honestly like trauma that is manifesting in a lot of different communities.
I just had a thought when you said that. So please remind me of the thought
Okay.
about generations and passing down bullshit. Okay, keep going.
And so it's like we do still need to use some of the similar language to slowly come out of that. And
Yes.
so that's why I like the language of choice because it's like, okay, you may not have to suffer and it's not about deserving, but you are still making choices that grant you this joy.
Mm-hmm.
And whether or not those choices feel hard or like you've sacrificed something or whatever, like it is something that led to joy that you had a part in.
Mm.
And this is where like the spiritual faith side of me is like,
Yeah.
besides like grace of God. But
Yeah.
um and so I do think focusing on that is helpful for people who are coming from this like generational idea of like suffering in order to have joy.
Mm.
And so I do like to focus on choice, and I do think that's where like the gratitude and all of that comes in because it's like, and it's, you know, for a lot of us that have the privilege of choice because of what our parents did for us,
Mm-hmm.
it honors what you're going through in a real way without saying like, oh, don't feel that, that's not right. Like that doesn't help anybody.
Yes. Yeah.
And we're feeling it for a reason that's valid. And so I do think that's why I tend to focus on this idea of choice over suffering.
Mm. Another cliche is that like our feelings are valid, right?
Oh
Like
yeah.
I think, yeah, I think but it's so true in this moment, and which is why I've shifted my language of just like, oh, that's a cliche, like, but to your point again, it's like these cliches are probably cliches because they're good, and there's like some validity and truth to them. Um, I have in recent years moved away from like when I am upset, when I am embarrassed, when I am anxious, when I am sad, mad, frustrated, any of those emotions that I used to try and suppress. I actually try and give them space now. Shout out Johnny. That's my alter ego,
Okay.
right? Because there is something. there that Johnny is trying to communicate to me.
Mm.
And there's a reason why I'm feeling these things. And I think it's only fair to myself and who I'm becoming, and also my past self, who Johnny is. Johnny's like my middle school-ish age, like sixth grade to eighth grade, somewhere around there. That's how old Johnny is, right? And so if I'm going to honor who that person, who Johnny is, and is trying to become and protect me from, like I want to give space to Johnny. Like, what is happening that is making you feel that? Like, and allow him to feel those things and give space for those things because like they are valid, right? And what are the lessons that like those feelings are trying to share with us? And so like the realization maybe in this conversation that I had is like I feel guilty sometimes of like desiring more, doing more,
Mm.
experiencing more because like my mom hasn't had the opportunity to do all the things that I have.
Yeah.
But my mom literally, it like when I go on a cool vacation, when I do cool stuff, like anything like that, like my mom is happy that that is like her son gets to do that. You know what I mean? So it's like there's a disconnect between embracing like and allowing myself to feel okay and being there. And we talked about this during the vibe check too. Is like the earning potential that I have is incredibly high compared to what my mom has, and like I don't openly share when I'm interviewing somewhere or money I'm making, like I don't share that with my mom because there's like some guilt that's surrounding that. Um, I just usually go just like it's a good job, like you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like
I'm going to be okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's just like mom, you don't need to you know do this for us because like honestly, like we're fine. Like you don't need to do that. So yeah, there's so much there, and feelings can be valid too.
Yeah.
Mm,
Yeah.
huh.
I want to bring you back to the thought you had about, I was talking about like generational.
Yes. So I've had this conversation before, right? Where and particularly like in the higher ed nonprofit industrial complex that exists, right? Where
Note for
I've
listeners,
actually
we both have a higher ed background in our previous life.
yes,
Sorry.
yes, higher ed, nonprofit, all that stuff. So it is very interesting, frustrating place to like exist and try to be creative, innovative in being
Mm.
somebody who is probably more green, more not as experienced, maybe not have as many degrees or written books or whatever, right? Because like you are literally treated like you don't know what you're talking about and like you haven't put your dues in. And
Yes.
so you, in order for you to do something great, like it has to be great for it to be recognized. And even still, like there's always going to be a room where where you don't have enough, right? Even if you're doing amazing things or you have these ideas, you want to do things, you are treated as if like you haven't done enough. Or if you express, like wow, I'm tired. Or like literally somebody told me this. Like they were in a job interview and it was a full day interview and they were just verbalizing like they were like, how are you doing today? And they said, wow, no, like this is great. It's just a long day. Like I'm pretty tired. And the response was after like 4 or 5 hours of interviewing, wow, you're tired already? Like, oh, okay. That is odd. So it's just like there's this kind of like, and I've said this, I don't care about saying this. People can come at me however they want. There's this idea of like martyrdom that exists within the nonprofit higher ed
Absolutely.
sphere that like older generational folks want to continue to pass down. They don't want to make it easier. You need to experience hard shit. Like you haven't put in how many hours. Like I'm working 50 hours. Like what do you mean you're cutting it off at 40? Like they wear like this grind it out. You just don't make that much money in the nonprofit sphere, whatever kind of like mentality. And like they're willing to do that. And if you don't do that, you're looked at as less than. And they just want to keep passing it down. But my
Mm.
thing, and even so, that's work side. And I've even experienced this and seen this just with older black folks, right? Where I'm like, yeah, like I want to be able to do like stuff now. Like I want to be able to like experience like these things now. Like why would I wait till I'm 65? Like why am I going to wait 30 years to do some of these things? Like that doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah,
But
me
like
neither.
then it's the retort. Yeah, the retort is like well, what do you know? Like what are you
Mm,
educated in? Like what do you like? And it's almost like this belittling, right? Where like that's what they heard, and then they're passing that same stuff down. Like I have to experience all this hard shit. Like it can't. They're like, and this is for unprocessed folks. It's not like it's not. There are plenty of older Black folks that I've gone in that they're cheering, rooting me on. They're so proud of me, blah blah blah. But there are other people that literally are like almost spiteful that like I have an easier time or I'm experiencing things that they didn't experience until maybe in their 50s. You know what I mean? So it's why did I say that? I said that because like for us to want to access these things and desire to access these things, not everybody is going to be on our side with it, and they actually want us to go through hard shit and continue that cycle. But I want to break it. Like I don't want people after me or coming after me, or if we decide to have kids, like our kid, like my kid, to experience like the hard shit I did, just like my mom didn't want me to experience any of the things that she experienced. So, and I don't want that to come out of a place of fear or anxiety or suppressing of my own emotions. Like, what would it look like to create space and embrace kind of like those things and
yeah.
navigate them in a different way? Anyways, I'll stop talking. But that was a
Mm,
lot of stuff everywhere, but like that's kind of like where my mind was going when you said what you said.
yeah. So real. From the academic side, it's like if you don't have a PhD, no one really cares what you have to say. And if
It's
you are young with a baby face, like good luck.
yes,
um,
double whammy.
and yeah, I mean, even the money thing, I feel like I'm like still unlearning a lot of what I inherited through nonprofit and higher ed of this like, oh, I'm making a choice not to make money, and that means I'm like a good person. Like
Yeah.
literally, I'm pretty sure that that's the belief that I somehow gathered. And
Hmm.
I'm currently trying to let go that it's like not bad to make money and you can still help
Yeah.
people and do good things.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, like what you were saying about this, I feel like it's like a normalization of struggle
Mm, there it is.
where it's almost like
You
because
put
it's
it so
been,
succinctly. Look at
well, I was,
that.
as you were talking, I was just like, it has just been normalized for so many generations that like struggle must be necessary.
Mm,
And like you said, it's like the unprocessed, the unhealed of like, you do have to normalize it to survive it. So it makes sense why generations before us normalized that because it was so real. I think about my parents. I when I talk to my grandparents, I'm like, there I would not survive a day in your life. Like absolutely not.
oh yeah.
Like way too soft for that. And
Yeah.
but it's also like I am because of what all these generations did for us, right? Like we are
Hmm.
this way because we have privileges they didn't have. But it's
Hmm.
also, yeah, like it would be great to have a conversation of like you normalize the struggle because you had to, but that doesn't mean that we have to. And it's a
Mm,
good thing that we don't have to.
yeah.
But if someone's not there, I do this work also in coaching of like you don't need their permission to feel joy.
Hmm.
And you can recognize that they're there for a reason and for them that is valid. But because they can't come out of it doesn't mean you have to carry it.
Hmm. That's
And
the word.
and it's okay to say like you think that I don't want to
Yeah.
think that, and like I can respect you and move on.
Yeah. I think that that's a really healthy boundary too. One which was hard for me to learn slash still learning,
Yeah, me too.
but I like that. Like I really do like that. Like you could feel that way. That's
Yeah,
completely okay. And go about my day and I'll keep on smiling and doing what I do. Look at
yeah.
that.
It's the whole
Yeah.
like protect your peace thing. We're
Yeah,
just
yeah.
like, dishing out cliches today, but they're all good.
This might be the most cliche pod I've ever done. Whatever, Ashmi.
I want us to end the last few minutes with every cliche we could possibly put into this.
We'll put a timer on there. 1 minute of just straight cliches that we could, as many as we could do at the end
Yeah,
of the
or
pod.
like a little cliche counter at the bottom of the episode. And just see
Low
like,
key, that'd be hilarious. How many cliches did we fit into this episode? Oh my god, that's funny. Actually, I like the cliche counter. Reggie, cliche counter. Come on, man.
I'm sorry we're
Uh,
giving you more work, but also I hope you enjoy it.
he actually really does enjoy this shit. Like,
Awesome.
he's probably literally he's watching this during the edit, and he's laughing right now. He's
Perfect.
laughing because we're talking directly to you, Reggie. We need a cliche counter. So I want you to take your ass back to the beginning and count how many cliches we dropped throughout this thing. Just kidding, just kidding, just kidding. Love you, bro. So you actually touched on something around um uh yeah, just like kind of putting that boundary down or it being okay for folks to feel that way, right? And how'd you say it? Basically, like it's okay for folks not to be there yet of you experiencing something they haven't or may not be rooting you on as
Yeah.
much as you would like, which doesn't inhibit you from experiencing joy. Or yeah, so I'm curious how for you, how did you have begun to unlearn maybe that joy guilt
Yeah.
as we've kind of coined it in your own life?
Oh, what a good question. One, I've always been like a late bloomer slash contrarian who just like didn't want to do things in the time that I was supposed to do them in and like all of that.
I feel you. Yeah.
So there was always something to be felt about the choices I was making because they were always so they were always so like unaligned to what I was supposed to be doing.
Mm-hmm.
And that happened after a long time of trying to do what I was supposed to be doing and feeling just awful, honestly. Just like an anxious mess trying to live up to all these things that just I didn't want at all. So I feel like that was a step one of being like, I don't want any of this shit. Like, I'm just going to do what I want to do.
Mm.
And it's like once you start to like feel the joy and freedom of that, it's like a great almost like snowball effect of like once you see something, then you'll see it in all the other parts of your life, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I think for me, it was almost like the awakening to like how much guilt played and plays a role in my life,
Yeah.
and how, at least for me, like unhelpful it is because
Mm.
one, a lot of the times it's self-inflicted in the sense that like even if it came from real places, it's not purposeful. And okay, actually, so all of that is true, but I just realized the moment.
Okay.
It was it was a therapist in I was like mid-20s, mid to late 20s.
Okay.
And I still remember this day. I was like sitting on the couch and so I used to be the type of person, like I'm a huge empath. So when people tell me they're struggling or like someone in my life is having a hard time, I will then absorb that and then carry it around forever.
Yeah.
Like if I talk to you in the morning and you're like, I'm having a shit time, da 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 da, we talk about it. Then for the rest of the day, I'm gonna feel bad about your shit time.
Yeah.
Not because you were like, Ashmi, I need you to feel bad to be a good friend. Just because I'm an empath, and then at some point in time, I thought that is what makes me a good person.
Mm.
And I said that to my therapist, and she was pretty blunt about this. She was like, "Well, that doesn't make any sense. That's ridiculous. Like, say that out loud again, and tell me what you think about it." And I was like, I don't know if she used the word ridiculous, but like, it was a blunt moment for her. And so then
Whatever. It was blunt. It was blunt. She
yeah,
just said it was blunt.
yeah. So then I like said it out loud to myself again, where I was like, oh right, like to be a good person, I have to feel bad about all the hardship that people around me are feeling. And then I was like,
Mm,
right, that makes no sense, because she was like, do your friends even know that you're feeling bad? And I was like, no. And she's like, so are you helping them feel better by feeling bad? And I was like, I guess not. And that was the moment for me, is when I
mm,
realized that this like guilt or feeling bad or whatever on my own isn't actually helping anybody. It's not helping me. It's just there.
mm,
And I
mm.
think going back to what we were talking about coexisting earlier on, I think the first step for me was to allow it to coexist without like taking over my life.
Ah, that's good.
Right? Because before it was taking over everything. Then I was just like not functioning because I was so sad or guilty or whatever.
Yep.
So I think
Yep.
the first step for me was to be like, okay, like I do feel sad or guilty, but I can still go about my day.
Mm-hmm.
And then the next step was like, okay, like are these feelings of guilt or whatever, like are they mine? And if
Mm-hmm.
they're not, then it's like I don't have to hold on to this and I can still care about somebody. And then if they were mine, then it's like, cool, what do I want to do with this? Like
Yeah.
process it, just let it be, let it pass, all of the choices that come with that. So yeah, it came from that blunt session with my therapist.
That's good stuff. What do you think that I had another cliche and then I lost it. Do you think that had a do you think that was purposeful or intentional or unintentional that you carried it?
Intentional,
Intentional.
because
Okay.
I believed that I needed to carry it to like love somebody or to be a good person. It was my version of martyrdom.
Damn. Okay. See, I wanted to ask that and just like clarify that because how often how often I've done that because like I'm like, damn, I'm not going through that. Shit, that sucks, bro. But then it's like, then all of a sudden I'm like, yeah, man, like my boy's going through this. This
Yes,
bullshit, man. You know what I mean? Like, yeah.
and like on the flip side, one of the things I've realized since it's been almost 10 years since like that moment,
Yeah.
is that me not holding on to it allows me to have energy to like actually be there for the person who's going through something.
Ain't that something?
Like it's like then
Mm.
if they actually need my help on something, look, I'm not exhausted from feeling bad all day and I can be there for somebody
Yeah.
in like an actionable way.
Well, look at that. Wow. 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 Who would have thought, right? Who would have actually thought?
Not
That's
25-year
wild.
old Ashmi, that's for sure.
I feel you. Oh my gosh. What would it mean to redefine joy as something um, abundant or inherited or available,
Mm.
not by a reward for performance?
Oh my goodness. I feel like I could go off on an hour about what just got triggered when you said reward for performance. Um, I think okay. You know what this is?
Listen to previous conversation with Ushby. We talked all about that. So previous conversation with Ushby, I'm plugging it right here. Listen to that. There's gonna be some
Yeah,
box somewhere. But anyways, go ahead. Sorry.
it makes me it makes me think of this concept of like for us, we grew up half our lives without the internet and then the other half with the internet.
Yeah.
And we were gifted the internet at a time where we were formed, but there was still a lot of our identity that was forming, right?
Yeah.
Like I
Yep.
feel like I got Facebook like right when I graduated high school because it was still when you had to be in college to have Facebook.
Oh yes. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Because you graduated what 2009?
high school 2007.
2007. Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, around that time. Yep.
So this idea of like performing for joy, I think for me, like some of it came from my joy has to be seen in order to feel it.
Okay.
So then it's like I have to post it and then I'll feel joyful about it.
Mm.
Or, and like, I have had lots of relationships with that over time and things have gotten better. But I think that is like probably big for a lot of us. And then I think for me, like ever since I started the business, which actually like 2 years ago, a couple days ago, um,
Heyo.
yeah,
Yeah.
I have really had to give myself permission for joy to look different for me because
Mm.
it doesn't look the same as a lot of people around me, right? Like for me, joy now is being able to like go to a movie in the middle of a weekday and not feel bad about that, or like
Mm-hmm.
take long lunches with my friends where I can drive to them because I can. Like it's fine.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And that's just like not the reality for a lot of people I'm around. And at the beginning, I felt so much guilt about doing any of those activities. Like I would do it
Mm-hmm.
and then I would feel guilty. And it's like, no one even knows I'm doing this thing. Like, I'm by myself in this theater. Literally, no one's here because it's 10 a.m. on a Wednesday. And I'm still feeling bad about it. So I really,
It would make you feel better if the thing was full, and then you'd be upset that it was full.
yeah,
It's just yeah. Anyways, yeah,
exactly. Right. It's like,
yeah.
I'm here because it's empty. And so I really quickly had to redefine my relationship with joy and my definition of it and be okay that
Mm-hmm.
it just, like, what I, like, my version of joy is different than other people. And also, that's just true for everybody.
Yeah.
And
Hmm.
I think it's sold to us as this like destination that you'll get, and we live in a very capitalistic society, so like this concept of joy has a lot to do with having money and status and power and all this stuff.
Yeah.
And I think you just have to talk to yourself and be like, do I even want those things? And if you do, that's fine.
Yeah.
But there's also a lot of people that don't, and that their version of joy is the smaller stuff. And I think for me, it's just like allowing myself to enjoy the small joys in my life and not suppress them and not ignore them
Mm.
because they're always there. I just have to be able to access them.
Mm-hmm. I'm just taking a quick note because something you said activated something in me around like we have these ideas of what joy is, but we don't even know what joy is for us because we've never given space to explore what that is.
Yeah, exactly.
Like I think that there's a lot of people that really don't know what brings them joy. Like they
Yeah.
have no idea, and I think that that is. Mm, I feel for them.
Mm-hmm.
I truly feel for them because like I still think I'm trying to figure out like what brings me joy, what makes me really happy. I think that there's moments where I feel it and I'm like, I think I'm getting closer to it. I think I understand it. I think yes, like this is it. And then I'll do that thing again and I'm like, nope. It's like catching lightning in a bottle, it feels like sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
But I also feel like because we have been told, and I'm not going to get into the marketing psychology of this, which if folks don't know, there's a lot of people that are in marketing that have a psychology like they got psychology, like psychology is built into marketing because they know what is going to draw your attention, what is going to make you crave something, make you feel like you desire it, make you feel like you are missing out or are less than because you don't have this thing. Like there's just so much billions and billions of dollars that are poured into marketing to make us feel the way that we feel. And so I think that one, tapping into that like joy guilt aspect, it's not just for the people that are closest to us that are making us feel this way, but it's a very intentional and purposeful thing. Like you will not feel fulfilled
Yeah.
unless you have a new car or unless you have the new phone, or unless you have a new watch, or unless you have this new thing, right? But I think what we're getting at and what you named is that like joy could feel, look like, be moments that like really shock and surprise us.
Mhm.
And so the invitation here, I think, would be, hmm,
Ooh, can I add something before you do the invitation?
yes, because it might change it. Yeah.
Well, I also just want to say joy can also look like things that don't shock and surprise us.
Haha.
So just like
Yes.
really ordinary things that we don't
Hmm.
realize bring us a lot of joy.
Yeah. Which I think that's, to me, that's the shock and surprise.
Okay,
But
that's fair.
absolutely to like clear, no, no, no. But to actually clearly name that, I think that like that may have that. I think that that's such a valid point. Thanks, Ashmi. But the invitation would be, what space or where can you give yourself space to explore what actually makes you feel something that you haven't felt before? Is it the quiet moments in that solo theater? Is it that walk in nature? Is it, playing with your dog or cat or hamster or ferret, whatever? I don't know your life. Or is it like, is it like doing nothing? Like watching a movie, watching a TV show, reading a book, writing, shout out writers.
Yeah.
Ashmi and I are now in the writers club. So it's I think that I think the yes, that is the invitation. Like embracing the space that you have, or creating space for you to get to know yourself. And the other thought that I having around this too, as you were sharing earlier, Ashby, is that like joy could be a very private act. Like not everybody else has to know about it. But we live in like social media, yada yada yada. But like it's so funny. Any of these things could just be like so private. Like I'm writing things that like maybe other people will see, but like I feel myself smiling, or I feel something
Mhm.
that I haven't felt in a while when I write and I read back and I'm like, that's it. Like I am like that's it. There's like alignment with what I'm looking at. So I don't know. We may be spitting here. I don't know. I don't know. Just like toot my own horn here. Cliche? Is that
Ooh,
does that count?
I don't know. You said something earlier that I was like catching lightning in a bottle. I was like, was that a cliche? I don't know.
Yeah. Oh, that's funny. That is funny. Good stuff. Yes. But we have been talking for a long time. This has absolutely been wonderful.
Yes.
Um, I am curious, and I've been asking this question in a wide variety of ways to
Mhm.
folks this season. Right now, what is one thing or one joy you're allowing yourself to feel fully without guilt?
Ooh. Actually, it is writing to come back to this.
Heyo, there it is. Full
I
circle. Look at that. We're podcasting. This is podcasting right here. God damn it. Look at that. Full circle. Come on now.
I yeah, like I started the Substack very fresh. Like it's only been like 3 weeks or something.
Okay,
But
well, I'm gonna go ahead and subscribe. Come on now.
yeah, yeah, please, guys. I need people to read my stuff. Um,
Yeah.
maybe I don't need it, but I would love for you to join me. Um, but I did it intentionally with the idea of writing as a like creative and expressive act for myself, and to not have pressure on it to like feed into the business or whatever, because that's where the guilt comes in for me, where it's like, oh, like
Mm,
this should convert or
mm,
get me followers or whatever. And
mhm,
so
mhm.
I would say allowing myself to create and write and share without like added pressure or guilt has been bringing me a lot of joy.
What about for someone who's listening, watching, maybe even reading some of these things? Because I'm going to start turning these into
Cool.
blogs and newsletters. I'm going to try. Yeah, I'm going to try. I'm so going to try. I'm going to do. Uh, But for somebody who might be, catching this, and they feel like they have to earn their joy,
Mm.
or like it comes at a cost, right? That there has to be some kind of cost for them to feel like they deserve that joy. What would you want them to hear from you today?
Oh, what a good question. Um, well, one, just like you're not alone in that feeling. I feel that all the time. Sounds like Jonathan feels it, and pretty much every client I've coached has felt that or feels it. So,
Yeah,
um,
same.
one, I would just want to validate that that's like so real for a lot of us. And the idea that like maybe you don't have to hold on to that forever. Like,
Hmm.
this is where the coach side of me comes, and it's like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
maybe this isn't yours forever. And if you're listening to this, reading this, watching it, whatever, like, this could be your sign to spend some time with it and decide if you want to continue with it or just let it go.
And if you want more, you got to reach out to Ashmi
Yeah, if
and
you need
like,
help letting it go, I would
yeah.
freaking love to help you do that.
Yeah. Or read her Substack or whatever else you got going on. Like that's how there it is. She just gave you gold. Awesome. Ashmi, my friend, cousin of the pod,
Yeah.
writer, facilitator, coach. Thank you so much for coming on to the pod, fam. Where can folks tap into what you're doing, connect with what you're doing, read what you put out into the world? Um, yeah, this is your moment to share all those things. I'll
Yeah.
also be sharing it in the podcast description, but whatever, you got it.
Yeah. Substack, I would say right now is the best place to go for all the like most current musings in my brain. Um,
Nice.
that link will be below. I think it's like a hard link to say out loud.
Okay.
And then and then I would say LinkedIn and Instagram. Like, I'm there, and you'll find me. But if you really want the most current stuff, I would say go to my Substack.
That's what's up. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, fam. Appreciate you for coming through and sharing all of your wisdom and musings and everything like that, and having a good time. We laughed a lot. This was fun. I don't know where the cliche count landed, but
Should we
I'll
end
say
with
up.
just like a classic live, love, laugh?
Hold on. Where's it at? I have a. Okay, so funny
Do
story.
you have a
At my
sign?
old, I don't have a sign.
Okay.
I might have something a little higher than that. But at my old spot in Industrious, shout out Tech Space side, Tech Space fam. Some of them listen to the pod. I don't know. I can't remember what I did, but there was a live, laugh, love. I think I had a live, laugh, love sign that like I had in the house. We don't have it anymore. But from that point on, I was live, laugh, love guy. And they sent me a live, laugh, love mug. Hold on just one second. Just
Okay.
bear with me.
Okay.
Bear with me.
Got
So shout out my Tech Space fam. They sent me a custom
Oh my god.
live, laugh, love mug. I still use it to this day. Shout out all of them. Alex, yeah, all of y'all. Just Nicole, all y'all. Just
You know,
great
I
team.
think it's funny that I picked the cliche that you obviously have, that you now have a story with.
How cliche. Look at that. We're just doing it. Doing it. Oh my god. This is so funny. This is so funny. All right. Well, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Hey, for all y'all listening out there, live, laugh, love, fam. Like live, laugh, love. You know what I mean? Live, laugh, love. You gotta end one too.
All right, everyone, just live, laugh, love. We're just living life and protect your peace. It's good.
All right. Okay, let's just take a breath, a collective breath, y'all. Inhale. Exhale. A moment from this conversation keeps ringing in my ears. Ashmi said a lot of times we feel things for a long time because we never give them space. and we don't reflect on them or observe them long enough to change our mind about them. And that idea of space, for me at least, whether it's a beat, a breath, like a good roomy pause, you know what I mean, feels really key. Because when we rush past maybe that guilt or that embarrassment or whatever, feeling exists there, we just stuff it down. We try and push it to the side, not pay attention to it. But I think when we sit with it, give it attention, and really sit with it, y'all, like that uncomfortable kind, I think we start to see why it's there. We kind of get an understanding, not only just of that feeling, but of ourselves more deeply. And all of a sudden, there's more room to feel joy that might be chilling right beside that little nervousness or potentially even anxiety or fear. There might be a little bit of joy that exists right beside it, right? I'm also wrestling with this question around deserving joy. And if joy has a cost, then who set that price? I'm pretty sure I talked about this in the conversation with Ashmi, because I'm like, who set that price? I don't remember. I don't know, right? I've realized that I keep waiting for a bill to pay that I've never actually received. And a bill no one in my life, at least nobody important to me or anybody that's in my inner circle whose opinion I really care about, asked me to pay. And maybe the math doesn't add up because joy was never meant to be a transaction. I'm gonna sit with that. So here's where I'd love to hear from you, y'all. Have you ever felt you had to earn your joy, or that it came at some kind of cost? Maybe you felt guilty for feeling good while others were struggling, or you found it hard to celebrate something that came easily to you. Where do you think that feeling came from? Share your story in a quick voice note, DM, or comment. You can send us an email or drop that in the form that I have listed below. And if this conversation, moved you, YouTube fams particularly, hit that like, drop a comment, make sure you subscribe, and podcast listeners, 5-star rating. If this conversation was hitting, you can go ahead and put that 5-star rating for us, or a short review. It really helps folks discover the show. And if you need more, y'all, cue up that last episode. What if joy has nothing to do with the scale, for a body-based take on joy that pairs perfectly with today's talk. Thank you so much for listening, for feeling, for giving your emotions a little space today. That is it from me. I'm done yapping. Y'all take care. Till next time. Peace.